Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 216. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess. If you are brand new here, I am your host for this show, founder of Wander Wealthy and the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. We're going to talk about that in a second. But this is a podcast for new, aspiring, and frustrated money coaches who are looking to build a sustainable and thriving money coaching business, or even looking for proof that that is possible for them, which, because you are here, I'm guessing you found the proof. And now we're going to go make the pudding. Anyway, enough of that. This week we're talking about a subject that a lot of us love to hate, or maybe we hate to love it. Either way, we're talking about sales, and more specifically, we're talking about this concept. Actually, it's not a concept. It's a fear of being salesy and how to ultimately avoid that. I'm really excited to dig in here because I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And I can't believe I just said that, because now I risk that you might just shut off the episode and go, find someone who will tell you what you want to hear. But I want to share with you what you need to hear. So I'm not necessarily going to teach you how to actually avoid being salesy the way that you might be expecting to hear it. But you're just going to have to stay tuned to find out how we're going to work through this big, massive fear that keeps so many of us from actually changing lives, from actually getting clients who then we can help change their lives and make a bigger impact on this world. Before we dive in, let's hear from this week's sponsor, shall we? Hello, this is this week's sponsor. Okay, it's been a long day. I'm getting a little out of it. But this week's sponsor is the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, which is my 12-week business coaching program for money coaches. Over the course of 12 weeks of working together, my clients are able to refine or define their niche markets and really carve a space for them in the money coaching world and actually start to attract and get clients because they do the work. They're willing to go there. They're willing to narrow down who it is that they specifically serve so that they can create a unique coaching framework that is special to them and their ideal clients, and they can start selling it with confidence, without the fear of being salesy, and with ease. So that's something that we are able to do in the course of 12 weeks of going through the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. I take you through a phase-by-phase core curriculum and give you so much support you won't know what to do with yourself other than reach out to me and ask for help. And it's an amazing time. And we are going to have another group round here this summer. So here's the deal. Things are happening. Dates are becoming confirmed. And if you want to be the first to know when enrollment opens, because it is a first come, first serve, I only take a handful of clients at a time so I can truly give you the most support that I can give with my own personal capacity, then you want to get on the wait list so you can, get access to some of these spots, if you will. But there's also bonuses to those who get in during early bird registration and even throughout the entire enrollment process, and you just don't want to miss those. So head to wanderwealthy.com/apply to jump on the wait list. It is super easy peasy. Literally type in wanderwealthy.com/apply, or you can click the link in the description of this week's episode. Open that page up, scroll all the way to the bottom. If you want to read it, of course you can, but scroll all the way to the bottom, click the link, and you'll just have to fill in your email address, and then I will know to reach out to you when the time is right, so you can be the first to know when we're ready to go. Enough rhyming for today. Thank you from our sponsor, the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, wanderwealthy.com/apply. All right, let's talk about how to avoid being salesy. So I want to start by first breaking down this term, salesy, because the way that I understand it, After having to reframe what sales is for me personally, but also helping my clients reframe it for themselves, I really had to think about it from a different angle. And so we need to understand salesy. We need to break this down because it is a term that we have applied to an action that is taken in every business. Every business, even businesses that don't make money, there is a sales process. And what happens in this sales process is, well, not necessarily what happens, but the purpose of having a sales process is there so that you can exchange value with your customer, or if you are the customer, exchange value with the service provider or product provider or whatever it is that you are purchasing. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be a financial, piece of value that you might be exchanging. Maybe you are just committing your time and your effort and your energy, and they are committing their time and their effort and their energy, and there's an exchange there. No matter what, as long as there is an exchange happening, that is a sales process. Now, obviously, to have a profitable business, you have to add the financial piece. And that can usually get people even more stuck. Beyond the fear of being salesy, then there's the fear of like saying the price for whatever reason. Right? People have a fear of being salesy just by offering a freebie. So there's that. And then there's the fear of being salesy, but then also like the price comes into play, and that gives people even more to worry about for whatever reason. It gives people even more fear built up that makes them no longer decide to pursue this individual to become a client or pursue this business as an idea, as a profitable option for them. Okay. We're not going to talk about the price in this episode. That's just like an additional layer that keeps people tripped up. But because I said that even if you're just trying to connect with people for free on a platform and there's an underlying fear of being salesy there, that's obviously something else we need to address beyond everything else. I will say though, if you are tripped up on price, that is what I've created the pricing formula for. I have lots of podcast episodes. You can go back, the last probably like 10 to 20 episodes. There's plenty on pricing you can check out. I definitely suggest to do that. But you can also check out the pricing formula because I developed that to help individuals, coaches specifically, find their price point that makes sense for them, for their business, understand what goes into the price so that you can feel confident about charging the amount that you need to charge in order to run this business. And I also give you lots of bonuses and, just things to think about and how it specifically applies to money coaches and how there is a unique nuance when it comes to money coaching. So if you want to get access to that, I made it so accessible because I think that everyone should be charging for money coaching, and they should be charging a good amount to make it make sense for all of us and make sure that your clients are equally as invested. So head to wanderwealthy.com/pricing. It's $27. It's a little mini course that's going to take you through and allow you to figure out what you really should be charging. And there's also a sales masterclass that only people who get into the pricing formula get access to. It's a $37 masterclass. It's 90 minutes, and I give you all of my sales tips and secrets. I poured it all in there. So it's so well worth it. And those two small investments could completely change your business. So I definitely suggest head to wanderwealthy.com/pricing, grab the pricing formula, and then, if you're ready, take it up a notch. Go through the sales masterclass. So that should cover you from the pricing perspective, but let's dive into this salesy concept. So like I was saying, this is a term that we've put on the act of exchanging value, right? Sales in and of itself is a process to exchange value, to get someone equally invested as you so that you can deliver what they need. Now, what makes that process salesy is something that we each have this individual perception of. I would beg to argue that some of the things that you perceive as salesy, another person would not. They would think, oh, this is just how things are done. And the reason is because salesy is like a term that we've used to coin a feeling about selling. And it's not a feeling about selling in general, because we know that every single transaction is a sale. And there are plenty of things that we buy that we don't feel salesy about. We don't feel that someone has been salesy to us. And in some cases, like if you work for a company, right? If you've ever worked in retail, you've sold to people. If you've ever worked in other companies, you might have been a part of the sales team or a part of even the marketing team that basically tease things up for the sales team. And a lot of times you never felt necessarily salesy about that. You might have if they had, weird or uncomfortable sales practices or predatory sales practices. But for the most part, selling is not necessarily something that we always feel salesy about. So salesy is this term that actually is rooted in a feeling about a way of selling. And that way of selling is usually perceived as uncomfortable, sometimes as aggressive, sometimes you could even consider it manipulative. But I would say the uncomfortable part, like usually it doesn't get to that point. A lot of people stop themselves because they're just afraid of even making others uncomfortable. And I think even before that, they're afraid of, and this is all of us, inherently as humans, we are so afraid. Our biggest fear is rejection. We are afraid of being rejected. We are afraid of being cast out of our tribe that we want to be a part of. And when your tribe, when you start to develop a tribe in your business in terms of like, my tribe are my customers and I want to offer them this service and actually change their life, but I'm afraid of even striking up a conversation with them because I'm afraid of being perceived as salesy, that's going to keep you hella stuck. So it's really important for us to unpack this word and where these perceptions come from. And I call them perceptions because, again, what may be salesy to you, what may make you uncomfortable, that's perceived. And I don't want to discredit or disregard that there are certain things that make people uncomfortable and we should absolutely stay away from them. But it's always on a perceived level because everyone is different. So where do these come from? On one hand, they come from actual lived experiences. You've experienced it before, you didn't like it, you don't ever want that to happen again, and you don't want to do that to others. Valid, fair, cool. That gives us a lot of information of what not to do. Perfect. Let's keep that in our back pocket. The other side of it is passed down perceptions or inherited perceptions or observed perceptions. So I remember when I was a child, we'd have the telemarketers call around dinner time and my parents would get mad because it interrupted dinner and, they were just trying to sell them something that my parents didn't want. So I observed that and I was like, okay, telemarketers bad, salespeople bad, which isn't necessarily the truth. These people are just doing their job and they're selling something that if they called and they were offering something that my parents really could use or really did want or really did need, like what if they called during dinner time and they called and they said, hey, is your kid not eating their peas? And my parents look over at the table and they're like, no, they're not. And they need to, but they're not. And they're like, I can give you something that'll allow your kid to eat their peas. I mean, that might be perfect. But again, there's a reason. We're going to back into this. But your perception of salesy or, just like bad, poor sales practices, a lot of times can be perceived, passed down, inherited, or observed. You observe it or you hear the stories of it and those stories get passed down from, generation to generation. So understanding that the concept of salesy, the idea, which is ultimately a feeling that we've given a name to, this is something that is entirely perceived. And here's the deal. You cannot control how others perceive you or the things that you do. That is so, so, so important to remember when it comes to running your own business, because there are so many fears that we have. And the biggest one is like the fear of what other people will think, AKA they'll think I'm salesy. They'll think I'm greedy. They'll think that I'm not cut out to do this. They'll think I'm unqualified. And all of these thoughts are perceptions, because there will be other people who think you're more than qualified, that think that you're doing it exactly right, that think that you are the exact person who needs to be in their life. We have to remember that everyone has this like spectrum of perception, and we can't control that. Now, does that mean you should be like a total jackass and make people really uncomfortable and be icky and creepy and weird? No, absolutely not. That doesn't give anyone permission to do things like that. But if you're concerned about this, it tells me that you have the awareness to stay within the lines, but you also need to be reminded that like you can't be perfect and liked by everyone, right? If this awareness, if this fear of being salesy is getting you so stuck and keeping you from putting yourself out there to begin with, from talking about what you have to offer to begin with, then a lot of times, you know, you're definitely not going to cross the line if you challenge yourself to talk about your offer and to connect with people and to, you know, show up. A lot of ways, it's an overreaction because of that fear that lives in our mind of what could potentially happen. Okay, so remember that just the fact that you're concerned about it tells me that even if you go out of your level or zone of comfort and get a little bit into discomfort, that's not necessarily going to make other people uncomfortable. We're not going to push it to that degree. We're just going to push our comfort zone to get us to a point where we can see the value of talking about our program, of getting in front of the right people, of making sure that we're connecting and we're doing the actual process of sales, right? So that we can get to that point of transaction. And there are plenty of examples of processes of sales that feel just fine and totally good. Okay? So remember that, like you go to the grocery store, you buy Lululemon leggings, maybe you don't because we're money people and we're like, that's expensive. But I do own a couple and they are really, really nice. But you buy something, right? You've hired someone to do something for you. And a lot of times it feels really nice and natural. Like you're excited about it. Someone may have just like popped into your life in a moment where you need it, right? The telemarketer calls you and asks you if you need help getting your kid to eat peas, and you're like, perfect timing. I can't believe I didn't even know you existed. Thank you so much for showing up here. So here's the deal. Understanding that there's a perception, understanding that if you're concerned about it, if you have that fear, your perception is probably like cranked up to 190,000, and we need to be willing to expand our comfort zone and push the boundaries, knowing that it's not going to even remotely get you close to being salesy, right? If you have that filter, you're not going to dive into the space of calling people during dinner time and offering something they don't want. And that's the next piece. A reason why we are afraid of being salesy is because there are people who are doing things that make us uncomfortable or that like feel totally out of left field, and it feels a little like slimy and creepy and icky. And the reason is because there are some, business people, entrepreneurs, but even like big corporations that imply these sales tactics that are inappropriate, and not inappropriate in like that was like, inappropriate, but like inappropriately taught and implemented. And here's what I mean. The process of someone who has identified that they have a problem and there could be potentially a solution out there is what we break it down in the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, as well as my content course, the client attraction content matrix, we break it down as the buyer's journey. This is also something I learned from a HubSpot like content marketing academy years ago. But the buyer's journey is this journey that a potential buyer goes through when they are ultimately deciding to purchase your product. But they never start there, right? They always start at like not knowing about you, not knowing about your solution, and starting to become aware of you. And then they start to see you as a leader in the space, as someone who understands the problems that they're having, the goals that they have for themselves, and understands how to bridge the gap of where they're at to where they want to go. And they start to see that and follow along and engage. And then they start to realize that you have a solution for them that they can purchase. And then they're ultimately ready to buy, and they inquire and sign up and start to work with you. And that's like the sales process, right? But there's an entire process before someone might get to that sales process. And the reason why there are people who exist that are salesy is because they are trying to sell to people who are just in the getting to know you phase. And if we align this with like dating and marriage, imagine you are at a bar or a cafe and someone walks up to you and just says, "Hey, will you marry me?" Right? That is like out of left field. It's a little creepy. It's a little uncomfortable. And we don't feel good about that. But in the business world, that's what so many people are doing. They're sliding into your DMs and they're proposing marriage. Or they're sliding into your DMs, and that's okay. They approach you at the bar or the cafe and they talk to you. But then they might ask you on a date, and then on the first date they propose marriage. Right? There's a process to the sales process. The sales process is a process. And there's even a process before that of building trust with your potential clients before they even get into the part where you start talking about your offering. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that a lot of people see these tactics being done in an inappropriate way. People are calling you up and asking you to buy something during dinner time, like the worst time possible, and asking you to buy something that you're not even remotely interested in. That is what we would equate to as salesy. Here's the deal. You don't have to do that. That is not what anyone should be doing. But that's what we see, and that's what makes us so afraid to even connect and go out and meet and get in front of and join the communities of our ideal clients. Just go to the cafes where your clients are sitting. Go to the bars where they're hanging out. Obviously, this is in theory, because I don't know. It's a little different in the States, but right now we can't go to cafes. And also, because you run an online business, you also don't have to do this. But go to the digital spaces where your clients are hanging out. Go to those communities. Immerse yourself. Introduce yourself. Get involved. But don't propose marriage on that first date, right? You have to develop the relationship. And here's the other thing. You put the ball in their court, okay? They absolutely could choose to say, "Oh my gosh, perfect timing. You called me during dinner. My kids won't eat peas. You're selling this course to help my kids eat peas. This is exactly what I need, because I know like my pain point is so high and I need this." Obviously, you're not going to call and be like, "I have this course that will teach your kids how to eat peas. Do you want to buy it?" You're going to call and say, "Hey, I'm Michelle. I'm the creator of this course that helps kids eat peas. Just wanted to let you know, here's my number. If you ever need me, call me back." Or whatever. Like, obviously, this is all hypothetical, because we aren't calling people and we're not selling courses that teach people how to eat peas. But my entire point is, if you introduce yourself to someone, if you let them know who you are, first of all, you're leading with who you are. You're not keeping it hidden or a secret. It's obvious. And if it's not obvious, they can click on your profile and see who you are. But you're not proposing marriage, you're not selling, you're just getting yourself into that world. You're having conversations, you're making yourself known and available. And I think the biggest thing, we talked about this last week, is we think that the world of money coaching, that the money coaching market is oversaturated. But I guarantee you that your ideal clients have no idea that money coaches even exist. And that's why it's so important that we get out and get into the communities and the spaces where our ideal clients are hanging out. Because A, we probably have been them at one point in our lives, and B, we have something to offer that could truly help them and truly change their lives. But understanding that the reason you perceive other people as salesy and you have that fear is because you obviously don't want to do what they're doing. You don't want to propose marriage on the first date. There's a process to it, and you can absolutely follow the appropriate process of getting to know someone, allowing them to develop that trust in you, and eventually, inquire about what it is that you offer. Or maybe they're asking you a lot of questions, which leads you to believe that, I think this would be better solved if we could work together, or even if we could just get on the phone and talk about what working with me looks like, because you also have to protect your time and put your boundaries in place and trust and believe and know and be able to articulate that there is value in answering those questions, and you can't offer that for free. But there may be points where you introduce yourself to someone and they say, oh my gosh, I need this. Perfect timing. I think I could really use your help. Or, hey, I thank you for introducing yourself to me. I checked out your profile and I binged everything and I'm obsessed with it and I need your help. This is exactly what I've been struggling with, and I didn't even know, someone like you existed. This is how you put yourself out there without being salesy. And another thing to this is just that, you need to be talking about your offer. Getting back to that, you need to still be talking about it. And if you're going to show up and introduce yourself and have conversations with people, but you don't have to talk about it in the direct conversation, but you have to have a place where they're going to go to look at, who is this person, where they can see that you have something that could be beneficial and valuable for them. So make sure you're talking about your offer. That doesn't make you salesy. That makes you someone who is a business owner who has something to offer that is truly going to change people's lives. And here's what I will leave you with. This is what I remind my clients, my money coaches who go through the blueprint. Selling is an act of service. It is the first entry point for someone to see that they can make an investment in themselves to improve their own financial life. It's almost the first way for someone to see the power of investing. I mean, it's not necessarily investing in the markets. They'll learn that when you work with them, if that's what you teach. But it's the value of investing in their education in a way that is going to pay off. I mean, maybe they've done it before and it's paid off, but this is beyond the traditional educational system that we've all grown into and, some of us got suckered into. This is investing in their education and their own personal growth and development around their finances that's going to have a financial return. And the only way for them to get to there is to take them through the sales process, to show them that they are worthy of investing in themselves, in their financial future. And if you don't sell, they don't have that opportunity. If you don't sell, there is no program for them to go through. There is no coaching for them to receive. Selling is the gateway to your clients working with you and having their lives be changed. Selling is essential. It's fundamental. And if you avoid it because of this fear around being salesy, it's going to keep you stuck. It's going to keep you from having the business that you want. So we need to uncover and sort of break down our perception, understand that yes, there is a way that we don't want to do it. And because we have this awareness and this fear, we're, 99% likely not to cross that line. There is a reason why the people who make us feel icky do, and it's because they're proposing marriage on the first date, and we know we are not going to do that. But we still have to sell. We still have to take people through this act of service, but also this exchange of value that has to happen in order for us to work with our clients and for them to work with us. So I hope that has helped you reframe sales, understand how to avoid being salesy, right? Go through the process, understand that some sales processes with individuals will be really slow. It'll take time. It's part of taking them through the buyer's journey of getting to know you and then building that trust and then tuning into the fact that you have a solution and you're the perfect person for them to help them with that. And it's understanding that for others, it'll happen really fast. And those are going to be your earlier clients, and that's just how it's going to take place. Or maybe you have people who have already developed a level of trust with you, and so they're ready. They've just been waiting for you to talk about the solution and to, strike up the conversation, whatever that looks like. But sales is a process, and there is and are steps to take to allow yourself to avoid this salesy idea. Another thing you can consider that we love to do inside of the blueprint is permission-based sales. So ensure that you're getting that permission and that consent to take the conversation to the next level, to talk about, how you can help them versus just like coming right out and giving unsolicited advice or, asking them to do something that they're probably not even interested in doing, right? Waiting for that permission or asking for permission to take that next step, to introduce your program or to invite them for an actual sales conversation. And just make yourself known, who it is you are, what you do, who you help. You don't have to hide that. You don't have to pretend like you're not considering them as a potential client, right? That's even more salesy and icky, right? Just make it known. Don't keep it a secret. And follow your own human intuition. How do you develop relationships as a human being in person? Take that process, and while you're getting to know people, while you're reaching out, while you're getting yourself seen and heard and known through immersing yourself in these communities and, going into the room where your ideal clients are, while you're doing that, just make sure you're creating amazing content on the back end to attract and to resonate with your ideal clients and the problems that they're having, the fears that they have, the goals that they have, and of course, talking about the solution that you have that can certainly help them. Okay? So go out, do that. If you're interested, by the way, in the client attraction content matrix, where I teach you all about the buyer's journey and help you and give you my best tools for creating highly resonating, converting content, where I also give you the tools to be able to create 6 to 12 months of content ideas in just a weekend, then you can check out the client attraction content matrix course by going to wanderwealthy.com/content. I will say, because this is, I've just been talking about a lot of my products today. I'm doing my own sales here. But I will say that if you go through the process of signing up for the pricing formula, the simple sales masterclass, and then you will be offered a really great discount for the content matrix. So if you want to take that route, take that route. If you just want to cut to it and get the content matrix, head to wanderwealthy.com/content. All right. So deep discount for you over at the pricing formula, wanderwealthy.com/pricing. It's just a back end deal that you get if you go through that route, and I'm just making my secrets known. Or you can just pay for the client attraction content matrix straight up by going to wanderwealthy.com/content. All right, these links will all be in the show notes of the episode at wanderwealthypodcast.com/podcast/episode 216. And don't forget one more thing. I'm doing everything I tell you not to do. I'm giving you way too many options. But if you listen to one thing, it's this. The Wealthy Coach Blueprint, we're going to have an amazing summer round for those who want to join the group effort, the group coaching, the community, the amazing tribe of money coaches in the world. And you can jump on the wait list so you can be the first to know when enrollment opens and get access to some very exclusive early bird bonuses by heading to wanderwealthy.com/apply. All right. Lots of links for you, but again, linked up in the show notes. So go to the description of this week's episode so that you can find those links or find the links to the show notes. And until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.